Tomorrow will be the commemoration of peace in Europe. We think of VE Day and the celebrations that happened 75 years ago. And it's important we remember times where there was great cost that produced a victory leading to peace. Obviously, because of the current situation, those celebrations are very limited, and we have, to use that word now frequently spoken, virtual celebrations. I think it was around 2015 that a group of us in Second Comber, a group of men, decided that we would go on a trip to the Normandy beaches, go round some of the war graves and link into what had happened in 1945. We'd done something like that similarly with regard to the First War a couple of years earlier. So we set off together. One of the things I brought was this, my French phrase book. Now, I used to know a bit of French, but I wouldn't trust myself too far with the language now, so it went in the book, in the bag, and kept the book just in case I need it, as we say, to pass myself in a situation and hopefully get out of any trouble. This time, with less movement around, we have more time in the house, and I, like everybody else, I'm doing a bit of tidying up, and I thought, what's the point in keeping this? I'm probably not going to need it much again. But I flicked through it and I'd forgotten I'd put something on the inside. And as you will see, I have two leaves. I picked these up when we were going around some of the graveyards that had been set aside for soldiers in the wars. This is an oak leaf, obviously, but I picked it up, left it in the book, and it's been sitting here pressed for what? Nearly 4 or 5 years now. And the oak leaf always symbolised the German army in the First War and in the Second War, and when those in the Nazi military regime were given the Iron Cross as a medal, there was often the oak leaf attached. Oak leaf and metal, that is. So that tended to symbolise the German forces. Then in one of the British and Commonwealth war graves, which we have seen many across the television screens, when we were there, I lifted this leaf. Now, there were quite a few Allied forces buried in the graveyard to which we went, especially those from Canada. And I think this was a maple leaf. I know Canada's is red, but certainly the symbol was very appropriate. So I kept that. Two parties at war. I happened to flick to the back, and there's a poppy. Now this poppy's a bit different in the sense that it's stuck. You can't pull it off, and it has been almost just seized into the paper. And how did I pick that one up? We were out one day and went to the batteries, namely the big guns by the Germans, with a good range of distance so that they could repel Allied forces coming across. And those shells could travel quite a phenomenal distance at that time. We were going around the batteries, and then I was sitting down on a bench just like this, just thinking and looking across, and there in the grass was just a solitary poppy. I hope I wasn't doing it incorrectly, but I couldn't resist. I got up and lifted the one poppy, put it in the book to bring it home. And you can see the result. It's now stuck to the book. And the poppy and the red, faded a bit here, but still noticeable. symbolises to us all, especially in November, a time of remembrance. Tomorrow, not only remembrance, but reflection on the cost of life, hence the red poppy. But it led to a victory that would produce peace. And so for 75 years, we basically have had peace in Europe. And maybe that summarises in a sentence the whole Christian message. We read in Colossians, a book in the New Testament written by Paul, these words: God made peace with the world through the shedding of Jesus' blood on the cross. God came to show us a victory in the cross, which in a sense had been red-stained through the actual death of Jesus. A victory over pain and sin and death and trouble and all that holds us back. But it was at a great cost. The cost of Jesus Christ, the very Son of God. But the cost of his death produced a victory for us all, so that God had made peace with the world, with us, in every generation, through his Son's death on the cross. And in practical terms, it means when our time comes, through believing in Jesus and that death on the cross, we have our own peace made with God.